Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadutang Parijana Sahitang Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhannitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kipa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanang Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhya Nama Nama Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukhaṁ karoti vācālaṁ pangum langayate girim Yat kripattamaham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishvaram. Hare Krishna. So in Gita Mahatmya, Srila Sankaracharya is telling, Moline mochanam snanam jalasnanam dine dine sakrit gita amrita snanam sangsara mala nashanam. So if you actually take bath, then all the bodies, the dirts, the contaminations, they go away, right? You feel fresh. Similarly, if you take the bathing in the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, then the sangsara mal, the dirts of all the material world will go away. It will be cleansed. So that's the power of Bhagavad Gita. It not only gives us the direction, manual for human life, how to lead it, it also, by listening to it or by hearing about it, even though we may not sometimes 100% follow it, but by mere listening of it, we get purified significantly. And in the course of time, we get the unadulterated devotional love at the lotus feet of Krishna. So today's chapter is chapter 8, which is called Attaining the Supreme, or how to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's in Sanskrit, it is known as Tarak Brahma Yoga. So in Bhagavad Gita, every chapter is yoga, right? Vishati Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, ityadi. So now we are in Tarak Brahma Yoga. Yoga means, what is the yoga? Definition of yoga. I think you all know that. Yes, Prabhuji, go. So we need a mic, Mataji, if that is okay. We need a mic for the speakers. Yes. Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's why it's convenient. If you sit together, it's easy to reciprocate. Yoga.
Yeah, so yoga means is to basically a practice or exercise either the body or the senses. Particularly it's something like the perfect alignment of your body with your sense, like sensory actions, like your inward self as well as the physical activity becoming aligning with it's kind of like resonating with things with one another.
Excellent. That's a good point, that you are aligning your senses. But there are different definitions of yoga. So this is one definition, and there are other definitions. Anybody wants to try? Like what do you mean by yoga?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. This is Shyamchandra Das.
Shyamchandra Das Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, please tell us, Prabhu.
Yeah. Yoga is connecting to Krishna. One of the way is how to connect to Krishna.
Correct. Excellent point. That is the complete definition of yoga. That the other parts are sometimes, kind of derivative of the original definition, but they are also there. What you said, Prabhu? What's your name, Prabhuji? Bignesh Prabhuji. What he said, it's also correct, but it's not complete. Just like understanding Brahma is not complete of the Supreme Absolute Truth. You need to understand Bhagavan. Similarly, by the yoga process, you get clean. You can clean your, consciousness, the senses and everything, purify it. But that is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal to connect with Krishna. And that's why it's jog. In Bengali we call it jog. Jog means addition. So we are adding to Krishna. Yeah, yoga is also addition. Okay, so now, can anybody remember like what are the different topics? Like everybody actually should take turn. What are the different topics were discussed in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is a very important chapter. It is the beginning of Bhakti Shataka. Like Krishna started explaining about himself and about the process of bhakti from this chapter. So what are the things you can remember from chapter 7?
In the beginning, Krishna started talking about his energies, phenomenal and
Numinous.
numinous.
That word is really good. Numinous and phenomenal, yeah. It's a very uncommon word. Anything else? Anybody from the online also? We have quite a few devotees joined online. Thank you. Anything. Because there are 30 verses, so definitely there are a lot of things are discussed in the 7th chapter, right?
He also started, then he, further down, he was saying how he's present in everywhere. Like he's the strength of the strong.
The strong, yes,
and the
correct,
intelligence of the intelligent people and wise people.
Correct.
And he's the smell in the earth. And,
Correct.
And how, then he said, and how only one who surrenders them to him can overcome this material energy that is his energy. The
famous verse, Devi Yesha Gunamai,
Yes.
that famous verse comes. Yes, there are many famous verses. One of them is Matya Parataram Nanyat Kinchid Asti Dhananjaya Mai Sarvavidam Pratam Sutramaniganayava. Itadi verse, like it's so. Anyways, so the interesting part is that is the kind of introduction of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Krishna is telling that all energies are coming from me, even though he only talked about two main energies, para and apara, phenomenal and numinous, but everything actually comes from him, and he says like all that you experience here, it's coming from me. Even the taste of water, and everything can be connected to Krishna. That's an interesting point of Yukta Vairagya. And then he says like who can actually surrender unto him, who doesn't surrender unto him, those things. And then at the end, there are two verses, very important verses. He says, Jara Marana Mokshaya Mamashritta Yataniye, that is the 29th verse. Te Brahma Tadvidu Krishnam Adhyatmam Karma Chakilam. It says, intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. That, notice the words here. So, Adhyatmam, Brahma, and Jara Marana Makshaya. Anyways, now next verse, which is the last verse of the chapter, it says, Sadhi bhutadi daivam mam sadhi yagyam cha ye viduhu prayano kale apichamam te vidur yukta chetasaha. Sa adibhuta. Those in full consciousness of me who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. You see the connections. So Krishna is telling that those who know me, that I am the Lord of the demigods, the whole material manifestation is governing by me, the Supreme Absolute Truth. They can understand and know me, the Supreme Absolute Truth, even at the time of death. Now these are the subject matters of the next chapter. That's why I am giving you the introduction. Why Arjuna is talking about this subject matter in the next chapter. By the way, you don't see my laptop, Mataji, connected? Okay, so you can display, then we can, okay, thank you, Mataji. So the first verse, so Atha Ashtama Adhyaya, attaining the Supreme, Arjuna Vacha, we do call and response, right? We do, or, call and response, Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam Kim karma purusottama Adi bhutam cha kim praktam Adi daivam kim uchvate Satat Prabhu. Translation, please. The yellow mic, Mataji.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Translation. Can someone zoom out?
Oh, you don't. Mataji, the screen is, I think, truncated a little bit. It's not coming 100%. It is still truncated. Mataji, the screen is truncated. Okay, it is difficult. Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay. Oh, now you can see that.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Translation. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the Self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me.
Okay, let's read the next verse and then we can come to the little bit discussion. Adhiyagya katham kotra dehe asmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katham geya siniyat atmabhi. Mataji, Mansi Mataji.
Translation. Who is the Lord of sacrifice and how does he live in the body, O Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death?
Thank you, Mataji. So, here in the beginning of the chapter, Arjun Mahashaya, he asked 8 questions. And those all questions are related to the previous last 2 verses. The way Krishna ended the chapter, it created more confusion in the mind of Arjun Mahashaya. So he is asking this question, O my Lord, what is Brahman? Arjuna vacha kim tad Brahma? Kim adhyatma? What is the self? Adhyatmam. Then he says, kim karma? What are fruitive activities? Adi bhutam cha kim praktam? What is the material manifestation? What are them? Because adi daivam cham uchyate. Please explain this to me. So there are, I think, 5 is here. What is Brahman? Self, fruitive activities, because 5 question marks I can see. material manifestation, and what are the demigods? So these 5 questions are asked in the first verse. Now let's go to the second verse. Adhi Agya, what is the Lord of, who is the Lord of sacrifice? And how does he live in the body? So there are 2 questions in the first sentence. Who is the Lord of sacrifice and how does he live in the body? O Madhusudana. And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? This is the third question in the second verse. So there are total 5 plus 3, 8 questions are asked in these 2 verses. And all questions are answered by Krishna in, I will say that, very quick succession. Relatively quickly. But the last question, all but the last question he actually expanded, and this chapter is all about the last question. How can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Means like how to leave the body in full consciousness of Krishna. Right? Okay, so let's go to the answers. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Savavadhyatma Muchyate Bhuto Bhabad Bhabokara Visargaha Karma Sangita. Vignesh Prabhu, translation please.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the Self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities.
Let's go to the next verse and then we'll come to the explanation a little bit, because these 2 can be joined together. Adi bhutam shara bhava Purushaschadi Daivatam Adhiyagyaham evatra Dehe Deha Vritambara. Anyone from the online wants to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
This is
Krishna.
Shyam Chandra.
Hare Krishna,
So,
thanks.
translation. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called Adibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adideva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the Super Soul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adi Yajna, the Lord of Sacrifice.
Thank you, Shamchandra Babu.
Right.
So, it's beautiful, right? One-liner answers. You noticed it? It is also explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. Bhagminam mitancha sharasam, something. The phrase exactly I can recall. So it says like, if you can represent something very, you want to explain something very eloquently, it should be very concise. It should not be like a huge thing. So Lord Krishna is explaining everything in one-liner because most of the things are already to some extent explained. Some of the things will be explained in the later chapters. So he is not explaining or expanding it too much here. Rather, he is expanding only the subject matter which which this chapter is named after, right? You know, the Taraka Brahma, or how to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the time of death. So let's actually go through these answers because these answers are very important points. So first, Lord is telling that Brahman is the one which is indestructible living entity. What is? Already explained in Sankhya Yoga, right? Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutya va bhavita bhuya ajo nittam shashvatayam purana na hannate hannavane sharire, right? This verse actually is the same thing here. Indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman. Now some people can say, especially those who are impersonalist, that I am Brahman. The Supreme Lord is Brahman. So we are same. Then how will you answer it? Yes, Aham Brahmasmi. That is one Mahavaikya Mayavadis or those who are impersonalists. So how do you counteract their argument? What Brahman is explained here and what Brahman is Supreme Lord or anything you want to...
I think there are two things.
Yeah, please talk in the mic, please.
Yeah, so one is like Brahman and another is Param Brahman, right? So like something like, even if the impersonal says like, there is only one thing called as Brahman. So like the analogy goes like, in a tree there are two birds. One bird is sitting and another bird is watching the activities of that. So basically the Param Brahman is watching the Brahman.
Excellent point. Yeah, that's what is the real difference. The real difference is the watching bird is full conscious of every living entity. And the self bird who is enjoying the material nature, he is only conscious about himself or herself, oneself. And that consciousness is also limited. When you are sleeping, do you know what you are doing? No, it's half death. Right? Sleeping is half death. So that consciousness is not also complete. It's incomplete. Sometimes it can also people who are like, whose senses are not developed, like the babies, or like the old people who are going through a lot of diseases. Their consciousness is also compromised. So it is a certain consciousness, we can say, certain type of consciousness which is limited, but we are trying to equate it to the infinite consciousness of the Supreme Lord, who is conscious of every living entity, every atom, not only living entity, even the inanimate objects he is conscious of. We are trying to. So this is like considering the sun rays and sun globe same. One is infinite, another one is a tiny bit of representation of that, which Krishna also explains in the later chapter, right? Mamai Bangshu Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that all the living entities are parts and parcels. So that is a very important difference, and we should always be conscious of that. Because the dharma, the quality of the amsa is to serve the origin, from where it comes. It's not. It cannot actually exist separately in a complete, consciousness or complete order. So that is the quality. So when we know that we are supposed to serve Parabrahman. And his eternal nature is Adhyatma. Now, this Adhyatma is like the conscious living entity's representation, which is, we can say that how this Adhyatma can be two parts. One is like the material part and one is the spiritual part. The material part is like when we come to this material world, we have a relationship in the material platform. And then another relationship is with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is called Sadharma. So there are two types of Sadharma. One is Sadharma based on your material presence, which is not Nitya, which is not eternal. It is Naimatika, means like it is situational. Another one is Nitya, Adhyatma, which is our relationship with Krishna, which cannot be changed at any time. Even in different bodies also, we have a constant relationship with Krishna. He is our creator. So that is a very important point. I don't know whether, I think Prabhupada also, Jivatma Brahman, he also explains that thing in this. Oh, he actually explains in a different way. It's a little complicated subject, but let's actually hear from, understand in this perspective. Same thing. Action pertaining to the development of material bodies. Now, you got a body. I got a body. There is a dog on the street. It got a different body. Why? Because of the karma. Because of the interaction with the material nature, we acquire certain kind of mood. And based on that mood, we have a desire to enjoy the material nature. And we are given the body to enjoy the material nature in that mood. Right? To satisfy our desire. So that's why this Adi Bhuta is actually development of the material bodies, also the material nature, because you have to interact with something which both are in the same platform, right? Material body is perishable, this material nature is also perishable, right? It also goes through the changes, material nature, even though we don't see it, right? There are different types of destruction, right? The material world goes through this different destruction. Lord Brahma's one day, then the whole life span of Lord Brahma, and then the Karanadaksha Vishnus, and then, so there are different types of destruction also takes place, right? So that is called Adhyatma. And then, fruitive activities, which we are doing all the time. What is the actual definition of fruitive activities? You all read 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Did I actually? Yeah, I was there actually in the 3rd chapter. Can anybody recall what is the definition of fruitive activities? It may come in your exam also.
Maybe fruitive activities is like something doing some kind of like sacrifices to our forefathers, like kind of like example, something like that. Any activity which is kind of like according to Vedic rituals performed, but what to say? It's for doing some benefit of our own self rather than...
Correct. You want to get a fruit. Yeah. It's not like, you are doing without any self-interest. You have a selfish interest. So anything, it's like, give and take relationship. Krishna, I am giving this to you. Even though Krishna is known as Yagya Bhuk. He actually eats through the yagyas. So you are giving something to Krishna, but you are also giving condition that Krishna, I am giving it to you. Please give me something in return. So that is fruitive activities also. By the way, the devotees who are online, please feel free to unmute and speak, even if I don't call out because it's difficult. It's a little bit impersonal, but that's how we are managing. So please feel free. Anytime you want to take part in the class. And Yes, Mataji, please go ahead. Manasi Mataji.
So, Prabhu, in this verse, Krishna is explaining about the Brahman, that it's the living entity, transcendental living entity. But I'm also confused, the effulgence of the Lord is also called the Brahman. Is there a relation or it's just...
No, that's correct. So, it is also, our nature is actually transcendental, means like we are not from this material world. We have a tendency to... we have the quality of eternity, full of knowledge and full of bliss. But that Brahman, what is that effulgence of the Lord, that has the eternity aspect. Okay, so it is one of the qualities of the Supreme Lord. It's not like the Brahman living entity. The Brahman living entity has a quality to serve the Lord, engage his senses or her senses. But that Brahman is an energy of the Lord. It's a quality of the Lord, you can say. So one of the qualities of the Lord. Yeah, it's called Brahma Jyoti, effulgent of the Lord. Yeah. It is like when you go from the material world to the spiritual world. So first is the transition point is the Kailasha, the abode of Lord Shiva. Devi Mahesha Haridameshu Teshu Teshu, right? Goloko Namni Nijo Dhamni Tale Chatasya Devi Mahesha Haridameshu Teshu Teshu. So Goloko Vrindavan, and then down is Kailasha, or the abode of Lord Shiva, and then Devi Dham, which is the material world. So from the Shiva Loka to Goloka Vrindavan, that is surrounded by effulgence of the Lord. It's a spiritual effulgence. Some people call it Biraja river also. Okay, the water form of that same effulgence. Action parting. Okay. Any other questions? Because these are like a little bit convoluted subject matters which Krishna is answering in one sentence. Yeah. Okay. Now let's do the next one. Now he is telling Adibhuta. Adibhuta is like the material nature who are controlled by the Supreme Lord's different energies. There are different controlling demigods also. And they are represented by the Virat Roop. Like if you read Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 2nd chapter, there is a very good description of how different planetary systems are different parts of Lord's body, different his limbs, different his skins, his smiles, different things are represented by different entities, different demigods, controlling, they are controlled by different demigods as well. But actually they are like Virat form. So Virat form is worshipped by those who are attached to the material world. So Krishna is giving solution to everyone. Those who are attached to the material world, they will worship the material world for selfish interest or selfless interest, but by that they get purification. Because they are worshipping Krishna. They are not worshipping the demigod itself. They are worshipping the Virat Roop Krishna. But if you are like pure, Sakam Karmi, then you may sometimes worship the demigods which are explained in the previous chapter, 7th chapter, right? But that is called improper worship of the Supreme Lord. And they cannot sanction you anything unless Krishna sanctions it. If Krishna supersedes their sanction, then it will not be good for you, right? Like Hiranyakashipu, he got everything. But then Krishna supersedes the sanctions of Lord Brahma. Anyways, so then that is Adideva, right? Then universal form of the Lord, which includes the demigods. Okay, so this is Adideva. And Adiyagya is the Lord who is residing in the heart. Because, as you said, Prabhu, that the bird, which is also mentioned in Shetashvatara Upanishad and Katha Upanishad, both. There, the bird is watching. And he is, as Chaitya Guru, also directing us. Like you desire something, how that thing gets manifested. Krishna has to sanction it. Krishna speaks it also in the 18th chapter. There are 5 objects of karma. The one thing is the super soul has to sanction it. He has to say like, okay, you can go ahead with it. You feel like some kind of inspiration, right? You don't feel inspiration of everything. But something which comes in your mind and you feel so much inspiration, you want to study, go deep, get it or achieve it, whatever. So that thing. So now Krishna answers the 7 questions. And he is the Lord of the sacrifice, Adiyagya. He resides in the heart and he is the Lord of the sacrifice, the Supreme Lord, who is Krishna himself. Sometimes the impersonalists, they will twist these things. This kind of concepts, they will say that, this is Krishna is talking about the Paramatma in him. He is a living entity like us, but he is talking about the Paramatma. But we know that actually Krishna is talking about himself. Now let's go to the next chapter, next verse, which is the beginning of the explanation of the last question. How to remember Krishna at the time of death. Right? It's the most important thing, right? Because we are in the school of art of dying. Not school of art of living. Krishna consciousness doesn't tell you how to live happily. If that somebody is telling, that is actually not complete, because it is a byproduct. If somebody is already in full Krishna consciousness, he is by default happy. He is not morose. He will not be hankering for anything. He is complete. Even though he may live in street. Right? All the Babajis, all the Acharyas, they lived in street. Even our Srila Prabhupada. He lived in a small, very dilapidated room, but he was complete in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Okay, so let's read that verse. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So you said that Arjuna asked 8 questions, and this is the last question, like how to remember time of death, like which Krishna elaborates a lot. So what were those 7 questions which were answered? Like I've only noted down 6.
No. Kim tad Brahma? What is Brahman?
Okay.
Kim adhyatmam?
Okay.
Kim karma purushottamam? Adi devam cha kim proktam? Adi bhutam cha kim uchyate? Right? Adi devam cha uchyate. I think Adi bhuta, Adi bhuta. So these are the 5 questions asked in the first verse. Then Adi yagyam ko yatra dehe asmin madhusudana prayana kala cha mamya. What is that? The last verse. Like how to remember Krishna at the time of that. These are the 3 questions. So, Geyosi Niyat Atmabhi, how to remember Krishna. So, the first 5 questions are asked in the first verse. The last 3 questions are asked in the second verse. Adi Agya, Lord of the sacrifice, where does he stay? Who is the Lord of sacrifice? Where does he stay? And the last question is, how to remember you at the time of death.
Okay, thank you very much.
Make sense? Yeah. Oh, I think I wanted to add something which is coming from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a little technical, but just bear with me. Then you can understand how everything is connected to Krishna. So in Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, actually in Bhagavatam, many places the subject matter of creations are discussed. Many places. It's discussed in the 2nd chapter. It's discussed in 3rd chapter. It is discussed in multiple places in 3rd chapter. Also to some extent 4th chapter and many other, even 11th chapter also. 11th canto also, sorry, 11th not chapter, all cantos, 2nd canto, 3rd canto, 4th, 11th, yeah. So there it says that the unmanifested material energy is called Pradhan, and then manifested is Mahatattva, right? So when Mahatattva, it interacts with Ahankar, the ego, it creates 3 main stream of energies, or energies you can say, because Adi Deva, Adi Bhuta, Adhyatik, these are like manifestation of that energy only. So when Ahankara, it interacts with Sattika, or the mode of goodness of the Supreme Absolute, material manifestation, it creates Adi Deva, the controlling energy of the mind and 10 demigods. Dasa Indriya means like the controlling demigods. Then when it interacts with the mood of passion, the Mahatattva, Ahankar and mood of passion, they actually create Adi Bhuta, which is the 10 senses, 5 knowledge gathering senses and 5 active senses. 5 knowledge gathering senses is eyes, ears, nose, skin, and tongue, test, because they are related to 5 tanmatra. Tanmatra means the experience, and then they are this Rajashik Ahankar is also control prana and buddhi. These 2 things. The mind is controlled by the sattvic energy, and that's why mind is higher. Prana and buddhi and the 10 senses, they are actually controlled by the Rajasic Ahankar. And then Tamasic Ahankar is causing the Adi, Rajasic Ahankar actually creates Adhyatma. Makes sense, because Adhyatma is the 10 senses, right? And then Tamasic Ahankar, it actually creates Adi Bhuta, which are the 5 tanmatras and 5 material energies, which you already studied in the previous chapter, right? Shiti, Apo, Tej, Marud, Bom. Earth, water, fire, air and ether. And 5 tanmatras are touch, smell, vision, taste and hearing, right? These 5 tanmatras. So these are related to tamasic. So the first, the Sattika Ahankar, it creates the Adideva, and it is called the Karya Sakti, the causal cause, why you are doing it. The Karta. The Karta means like if somebody doesn't sanction, it doesn't happen, right? It does, like you have the brick, sand, It doesn't create a building automatically, does it? Somebody has to sanction it. Somebody has to say like, oh, you do it. The mantra has to be there. And then you need karana. Why you are building it? Why you are building the house? To stay there, right? That karana, which is coming from the rajasic and which is also called adhyatma. The material world is created for the living entities. It's not a, sometimes the impersonalists, they will say Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. No, it's not mithya, it is true. It is created for us to satisfy our desires. And then tamasic, which is the ingredients itself, the brick, the sand, whatever I mentioned. They are called the Dravya Shakti. Yeah. So Jnana Shakti, which is the Karta, Karana, Kriya Shakti, and then Dravya Shakti is the Tamasa, which is called Adibhuta. Okay. Now let's actually read the next verse, which is a very important verse, and I think many of the devotees quote this verse left and right. Especially I know one devotee, he quotes it in every book distribution, every door he knocks. It's a very important verse here. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samsayaha. Anyone else wants to read from the Zoom call or Akashbani?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
This is Kennedy.
Kennedy Mataji, yes. Hare Krishna.
And whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt.
Yes, thank you. So it's art of dying, right? So how to die? It's telling, Krishna is very concisely telling that if you remember me at the time of death, because Srila Prabhupada mentions it in Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran purport that sadhana karo, bhajana karo, morte janle hoy. Whatever devotional service you do, you need to know how to die. If that is not like perfect, even though there is some caveat in that statement also, Krishna actually speaks in Baraha Purana and different Puranas, that if devotees by chance they cannot remember me, but he has executed devotional service continuously with full attention, I make him remember me. If he cannot by own endeavor. And that's why King Kulasekhara is telling, oh my Lord, I want to die now. Because I have my full consciousness now. My body is working. Now, during the time of death, my voice will choke. I won't be able to actually think of you because I will be going through so much pain in my body. So take my body right now. Let me die right now so that I can think about you. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we should commit suicide or anything because that's not Vaishnava principle. But the point is that devotees are sometimes thinking that it's very difficult, and it's true, it's very difficult. But there is also hope. You have to be surrounded by the devotees if you are fortunate. They will make you remember Krishna. Even if you forget, they will keep the vibration going. Okay? Now let's read the next verse, which is also connected. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kanteya sada tadbhava bhavita. Anyone from the Zoom call?
I can do
Hare
it.
Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without pain.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So this is the formula of transmigration of body, right? How we get another body? Because we are attached to someone, and we remember that person while we are dying, and we get that kind of body. So it has to be we have to be very careful whom we are attached to. If we are attached to our Guru Vargas or Krishna, even if our kids who are actually Krishna conscious, that is good. At least we will see something good. And also if their name is named after Krishna, right? Like Ajamila. He was not Krishna conscious, but he did only one thing, which is remembering his son's name or tried to utter his son's name, which is Narayana. He got delivered. So the example, the prime example is from Bhagavatam. Who is the prime example of this verse? Is actually Prabhupada mentions in the purport, but I want to hear from you. Any wild
Bharat
guess?
Maharaj?
What, Prabhu?
Bharat Maharaj Prabhu?
Yes, can you please tell a little bit about Bharat Maharaj, what happened to him?
Oh, so Bharat Maharaj is a great devotee of Krishna. He renounced everything and went to forest and lived life in a secluded place, uh, remembering Krishna. But one day he saw a deer hunted by a lion, and that deer is also pregnant. So he delivered a baby, and by seeing that, he got attached to the babies, so thinking that no one is there for that. So like that, he got attached to the baby deer, and his focus and concentration went on to that baby deer. At the time of death also, he remembers that. So he didn't attain Krishna, but because of his pious and the activities, whatever he did remember who is he in the next life as a Jadaval. So then he do not want to do the same mistake again, and that is long story short.
Excellent. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah,
Hare
in Bharat Maharaj's case, we see like you went through three words, right? First is Bharat Maharaj, then the deer body, and then he came again as Jar Bharat, who was fully self-realized. So, yeah, by Krishna's mercy, he could retain or remember his previous birth. It's not easy. If you remember previous births, you don't want to actually enjoy this material world. In fact, in this material existence will be so painful. If you remember all the previous memories of your different births, it will be painful. You cannot enjoy material world. So Krishna, that's why sometimes, or he erases, in usual case, he erases all the memories so that we can fulfill our desires, whatever desires we have we have got in our heart in that body. Yeah. Okay, so this is very important that we should remember Krishna. Now people in general, it's very difficult to remember Krishna at the time of death. Why? Because we are not remembering Krishna other times. Are we? If you remember about something, if you are like fully focused on something, then your life will be centered around that thing only, right? Right? You will be not deviating from that, but right? Even if you are going to a very good school or a very good company, you want to work, you have a target, everything will be centered around that. Your main focus will be that. So when our main focus is not Krishna, it's very difficult. So Krishna is giving us the formula how to keep Krishna in the center. Even we are doing all the activities we do in our daily life. So it's also a very famous verse. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha mayyarpeta manobadher mave vaiswasya samsaya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Saurabh.
Sarah Prabhuji, please read.
Yeah. Therefore, Arjun, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, so he's not telling that Arjun, Krishna is so like considerate. From the very beginning, he is telling Arjuna fight, Arjuna fight, Arjuna fight. He did not say that Arjuna, you should not fight. And he's telling that, while fighting, just remember me. And he also says the same thing in the 3rd chapter also, 4th chapter also. So he is repeating everything every time so that Arjuna finds no reason to not to fight. So Krishna is telling, just remember me. Just put your attention, mind and intelligence unto me while you are fighting. Then you will definitely attain me. Even you are doing so-called external, material activities. And how you can do it, which is also repetition of the verse coming in the 6th chapter, because engaging mind and intelligence is not simple or not easy. So he's giving some hope, or he is giving the direction of the process. Abhyasa yoga yuktena Chetasananyagamina Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati Parthanu Chintayan. Anyone else wants to read from Zoom? Who did not read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. Right?
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Constantly engaged in remembering me and undeviated from the path, O Partha is sure to reach me. So, this is actually a Abhyasa Yoga. Very important point, Abhyasa Yoga, the yoga of practice, constant practice. So, sometimes when you are doing something constantly, it becomes part of you. It becomes, you can do it, without much deliberation. It comes automatically, it becomes part of you. Sometimes I feel like when I am singing some of the bhajans, I don't put attention, but I see like the lines are coming automatically one by one. Like, I should not do it, but sometimes it happens because when you have other things in mind, like, I have to do this. So today also, when I was doing Srila Prabhupada's Guru Puja, so I was singing the Guru Puja Vandana, Guru Vandana, and that time I noticed that some of the verses I did not have attention, but they came automatically because it became part of my life. So making mistake, yeah. Babu, you want to read something? Hare Krishna, those who are leaving. Before you leave, you want to read one or two verses? Okay, just stay. I think you can read something also. So Krishna is telling that, by Abhyasa Yoga, if you train your mind, then you can do. And then Krishna is giving, how you can remember me. It's a very, very nice verse. Kavim Purana Manusasitaram Anar Aniyam Samanasmaredya Sarvasya Dhataramachinta Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parasta. Please take a mic, Prabhu, and read the translation. You can read also, Mataji, it's fine. Keep the mic close, Mataji. It's not turned on. It should green, yeah.
One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as He who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is the smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and He is transcendental beyond this material nature.
Thank you, Mataji. So, now you can say like, how can I remember you all the time? Is it practical? I'm not doing same thing every time. Are we doing same thing? Are we always eating or always sleeping? No, we are doing different things. So Krishna also, he expands this, as I said, like, many of the concepts are expanded in the later chapters. So in Vibhuti Yoga, he also expands that how to remember me or see me, my Vibhuti, my presence in different objects of the material world. So he's telling, think about me, I am the oldest. Oldest means like there is no one older than me. He is the beginning. Actually, he is beginningless, but also he is the beginning. Who is the controller? Everything is controlled by Krishna. So you have to see that, when there is some material calamities, you should say, it is Krishna is actually controlling it. Krishna is causing these calamities, and then we have to do more Harinam, right? Who is the smaller than the smallest? The Anu, right? The atom. Krishna is actually the life in the atom also, Paramatma. So the Paramatma is there in the atom also, right? Is any verse? In Brahma Samhita it says, right? Andantarastu paramanu chayantarastham. He's there in the Anu. And maintainer of everything, of course, who is beyond material conception. Who is inconceivable. These 2 points are excellent points. The definition of Bhagavan comes from these 2 points, material conception and inconceivable. If you can understand the Lord with your material intelligence, then Lord is also material. can be understood by you, right? One time, one person asked Prabhupada this question, Srila Prabhupada, one of the disciples, sometimes the disciples were asking challenging questions, especially youth minds, they have fresh thoughts. They asked, can Krishna create a stone which he cannot lift himself? It's a paradoxical question, right? Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. He can do everything, but can he do something which he cannot, do also? Then Krishna said, Prabhupada said, yes, he can. He can create a stone which he cannot lift in 1 second. The next second he can lift it. That's 1 second he can, I cannot lift it. The next second, I can lift it also. So that is Krishna. He cannot be conceived by our material intelligence. Achintya, and Srila Jiva Goswami Pad, who is the Tattacharya, Tattacharya. Vedantacharya is Baladev Vidyavasan. He is the Tattacharya of Gauriya Vaishnavism. Whole definition of Bhagavan is given based on this conception that Bhagavan is Achinta. He cannot be conceived with your material intelligence, by any intelligence for that matter. Even for the pure devotees also, Krishna cannot reveal certain aspect of him. They cannot know certain aspect of Krishna. And you don't have to know Krishna in full to love him. That's an interesting point. You have to love him by getting attracted to certain aspects of Krishna's qualities. If you are attracted to, how Krishna beautifully smiles, how Krishna beautifully plays, or he dances, one aspect, that is enough for you. You don't have to, what Krishna can do, I have to actually make a list and I have to memorize it. No, you don't have to. Because that is never, it is unending, that qualities of Krishna. Okay, so he is always a person. Also, Prabhupada added it, which is he is a person. He is not like something impersonal or anything. And this Achinta, Bhedavet Tattva actually comes from there. He is he cannot be conceived through material conception, means he is Adhakshaja Vastu. Adha Akshaja. So, Akshaja means senses. So, he is beyond the senses. Adha Akshaja. So, senses can be gross, which we discussed, right? Gross senses are our eyes, ears, skin, tongue, and what else? Nose. And the subtle senses are mind, intelligence, and false ego. Correct. So, we cannot understand him by these senses. He is beyond the senses. Another meaning of Adakshaja is A to Sha. In Sanskrit word, it starts with the alphabet, it starts with A, ends with Sha, right? A to Sha. Anything which is in between A to Sha, it cannot explain or define Krishna. It will be revealed to you in your heart by the process of devotional service and mercy of the previous acharyas. Okay, so this is very important. Now, Krishna is giving the definition or process by which a yogi, especially yogi who are Ashtanga yogi, they actually can remember Krishna or live their body in full Krishna consciousness. Prayana kale manasha chalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bhruvor madhye pranam avesya samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. Prabhu, translation.
Hello. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The one who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you. So there are different type of air in our body, right? Prana, Apana, Samana, Udana and Vyana. So this is the process. By Ashtanga Yogi, he lifts his Prana Vayu through the eyebrows. Actually, there are different chakras. So in Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran, 2nd canto, I think 3rd chapter or 4th chapter, it is explained that how a yogi leaves the body, especially the Ashtanga yogi. So there are different processes of Ashtanga yoga, right? Yam, Niyam, Asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Or dhyan, dharana, samadhi. Dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Correct, yeah. So dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So it is said that in that stage, in the different stage, you get different kind of revelation. So pratyahar is a very high stage. So pratyahar, like somebody who attained that stage, he is completely detached with the material world. So anyways, I don't want to go to very technical details. The main thing is like the pranavayu comes from, we have different holes. So one of the hole is the anus. That is one of the holes. So that is called Muladhara chakra. So the pranavayu comes from Muladhara chakra to the navel, which is called Manipuraka chakra or Swadhishthana chakra. Then it comes to the heart, which is called Anahata chakra. And then from Anahata chakra, it comes to the throat, which is called Vishuddha chakra. And then it comes through eyebrow, which is called Agnya chakra. And from there, it actually goes through the Brahmarandhra, which is this one. In many people's life, in general peoples who are not practicing any type of yoga, they will live their life through the anus. But those who are yogis, they can close all the 7 gates of their body and their life will live from the Brahmarandhra. I know actually a person who is very close to me. He said like his father, he was a yogi. Like he was not like a devotee, but he was a yogi. He practiced yoga. He was a big astrologer. He was a Brahmin by birth and he was very austere. He left his body through Brahmarandhra. He said like my father actually left his body and we could hear the sound. Like there is a little sound and they could understand. He closed everything of his body in yoga process. Even though he was lying, but they could feel that he was in yoga process. Anyway, so that is not easy. Again, that is not easy. It needs a lot of practice, but those who practice, they can do it. Now, next verse is also interesting. Yad aksharam veda vadante vishanti yad yatayo veto ragaha yadichanta brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena prabhakshve. Raghav, you want to read translation?
Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkar, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation.
Thank you. So it means like those who are great sages who are practicing yoga process for a long time and they are renounced order, means like they are detached, as I mentioned. They enter into the Brahman, which is impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Lord. And they desire also this perfection. And Srila Prabhupada says that chanting of Omkara, which is a representation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, and chanting of Hare Krishna is not different. There is no difference. Hare Krishna is also Omkara. In fact, in ideal situation, Hare Krishna, when we are chanting in the yagya, it starts with Om, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. However, it is also said that Hare Krishna can give us Krishna Prem. It can actually give us Krishna Prem, which the other mantras and sounds may not be able to actually give. And it can make us confused also. So, it's not different. But these people are desiring of getting into the Brahman effulgence of the Supreme Lord. That's why they go to that place. If somebody is desiring to go to the planet of Krishna Loka, they will chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra and they will attain the same thing. That's Srila Prabhupada also explains in the purport. In the age of Kali, is here. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya, okay, let's actually read this part. So we read. In the Vedic, okay, maybe Satyat Prabhu, you can read. In the Vedic system of knowledge. There is only one mic? Okay. Oh, maybe Mataji did not activate it. Okay, no worry. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. In the Vedic system of knowledge, students from the very beginning are taught to vibrate Om and learn of the ultimate impersonal Brahman by living with the spiritual master in complete celibacy. In this way, they realize two of Brahman's features. This practice is very essential for the student's advancement in spiritual life. But at the moment, such brahmachari, unmarried celibate life is not at all possible. The social construction of the world has changed so much that there is no possibility of one's practicing celibacy from the beginning of student life. Throughout the world, there are many institutions for different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where students can be educated in the brahmachari principles. Unless one practices celibacy, advancement in spiritual life is very difficult. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has announced, according to the scriptural injunctions for this age of Kali, that in this age no process of realizing the Supreme is possible except the chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you. So it means like brahmachari, those who are not doing any sense enjoyment, only they can actually it is said there are three types of spiritualists. What are the three types of spiritualists? Open question. Even the Zoom devotees, they can also speak about it. Three people seek spiritual revelation or spiritual destination. No, not three people, like three types. Yes, you are in the right track, but it's actually Jnani, Dhyani and Bhakta. Karmi, they don't. They are just, Abhama Bhuna Loka Punar Janma Tirna Apacharjuna. It is spoken in the next, few verses. Okay. Now, same thing, this continuing, that how the Ashtanga yogis, they leave the body, or they should leave the body. Sarvadvarani samyamya manoredi niruddhacha murdhyani adhyatmana pranam asthito yoga dharanam. Panse Mataji. Sorry, it's a little inconvenience to move around.
The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life here at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga.
Yeah, you see that this practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense object. So this is the practice of the detached yogis. So there are two types of yogis mentioned in Bhagavatam. One is attached yogi, who goes through the different planetary systems. Bhur, Bhuva, Swar, Jana, Maha, Tapa, Satya, Vaishvanara Loka, they go through the different planetary systems, and if while observing the people or opulence of that planetary systems, if they get attracted, they stay there for some time. So their progress is not like very fast. But those who are detached, they directly go to the spiritual world, like the Brahman Jyoti or Bhagavan or Paramatma, whatever. Yeah, it's based on their desire. Yeah, so best process is Prabhupada is telling that Krishna consciousness, because you can attain the samadhi easily there. Om ityakaksharam brahma vyaharan mam anusmaran ya prayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim. Any devotee from the online?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read.
Yes, Mata. Oh, Sukamala Radhika Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets.
Thank you. Now, Krishna is actually talking about the Bhakti Yoga process. The people who are practicing Bhakti Yoga, how they will leave the body, what will be their consciousness. Ananya Cheta Satatam Uyoma Mismarati Nityasaha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha nitya yuktasya yogina. Devotees from Jum.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prada, because of this constant engagement in devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Correct. Thank you. So, when you are engaged in Krishna service, the most important part is not what you do. The most important part is how you do it. Somebody may do very little devotional service, but his heart may be, oh, when I will get a chance to do that service. Somebody is doing all the time devotional service, but his mind is somewhere else. So who is getting the most benefit? Just like gopis. Outwardly, they did not do any service to Krishna. Outwardly, right? They are always very meticulously engaged in their household duties. But their mind, when I can actually serve Krishna? How can I serve Krishna? How, when? That thing is always reverberating in their mind. So when that is happening in your mind, that is remembering of Krishna. And that anusmaran, nitya anusmaran is most important. And that devotee will definitely attain Krishna. That's Krishna is telling that. Because of this constant engagement in devotional service. So that's why we have to engage our energies in Krishna's service. We are intelligence, our senses, everything. When we do that, then it will be part of our life. As I mentioned, it should be like, not robotic. You should have some emotion. But it should be part of your life. You will feel like, just like drinking water, just like eating, sleeping is part of your life. Krishna consciousness should be part of in that way. But it should be more like attentive. Yeah, that may be not attentive all the time. Okay, so Prabhupada is giving a huge purport. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, He is especially inclined towards those who always serve Him without deviation. That is an interesting point. Krishna is nirapeksha, He is impartial, but He is definitely more considerate to the devotees. Even the devotees sometimes make mistake, He actually forgives them. He purifies them in a way that the tendency to commit mistake doesn't come in their heart. Okay, so yeah. Another point, the special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere at any time. Some say that, you should, the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan, some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. Like Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, wherever you are, the Lord, there is Vrindavan. Because Lord Chaitanya was going, after taking sannyas, he was going for Vrindavan. And he was brought to Shantipur. And he said, I was looking for Yamuna, why I am here? Advaita Acharya is here. Then Advaita Acharya actually told, actually the side you are staying, that is actually Yamuna, because Yamuna and Ganga, they confluence a little bit upstream, and Yamuna still is flowing in that side, Ganga is flowing in this side. So he was actually brought to Yamuna. Lord Nityananda tricked him. And his long story short, the Vrindavan can be manifested in your heart. If you want to see Vrindavan through the eyes, you will see nothing. You will see darts actually. You will commit offense. But if you see Vrindavan or you manifest Vrindavan in your heart, then Krishna can reside in your heart. That's the mood of the devotees. And that Srila Prabhupada is telling that because he left Vrindavan. And where he came to USA. Opposite of Vrindavan. Everything opposite of Vrindavan. But did he miss Sri Vrindavan Dham? No, because he established Sri Vrindavan Dham here. Yeah. Our Radha Madan Mohan is also residing in Vrindavan. This is a kunja where they reside. That's why you see every day the devotees so meticulously make the garlands, offer it to the Lord, dress Him every single day. We do 5-time offering, dressing every day, so that they manifest their pastimes in this place. And all those who are fortunate souls, maybe in conditioned state we cannot say, but those who are fortunate souls, who are very advanced in consciousness, they can see their mood, their pastimes in front of them. Okay, so now Krishna is telling the cycle of birth and death, right? The famous verse. Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalayama shasvatam napnuvante mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. So, Zoom call devotees.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection.
Correct. Thank you. Yes. So this is repeated many places. Here also it is repeated. Then 15th chapter also repeated. So if you go to the spiritual world, you don't have to come back. But those who are not qualified, they have to come back. And he is giving example of who are they. Brahma bhuvanal loka punar avartin arjuna mam upetya tu kaunteya punar janma na vidyate. Saurabh Prabhu or any other devotees who have not read second time?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Shyam Chandra Das.
Shyam Chandra Prabhu, yes, go ahead.
From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again.
Thank you. So sometimes we may think like, okay, the process of birth, why it is considered also a like miserable condition. Our consciousness is developed, was not developed when we were born, but definitely we had gone through a lot of pains. And it is spoken by Kapil Muni, Lord Kapila, to Mother Devavati in Bhagavatam 3rd canto, 29th chapter, or something, 29 to 30, something like that. So there, the process of taking birth from embryo to everyone, and in each stage, what are the difficulties the living entity go through? The living entity goes through, and in different types of sufferings. So yeah. Anyway, so interesting. Another interesting point. There are different yoga process, like especially karma kanda yoga, karma yoga. You go to the higher planetary systems, but it is not constant establishment. You have to come down when the past activities are eradicated. Like we say, like somebody when they die, may he attain salvation. That is like impersonal concept, or there is no concept actually when we say that. Mukti, we don't have a concept of mukti. But sarga, he goes to heavenly planet. So going to heavenly planet is not like a constant arrangement. You have to come down again after your all punya, the pious activities are done. You wanted to ask something, Mataji? Yes.
So Prabhuji, when we are in the higher planets, we don't generate karma.
That's a very good question. Yes, we don't generate karma. Yeah.
So when we say we have to come down, or Krishna says that you have to come down, so come down to the earth or come down to any below planets also?
Actually, yes, very good question. So the other planets are, for good karma, you go to the higher planets to enjoy. Yeah. For bad karma, you go to the lower planets to suffer. But this is the karma bhumi, where you can choose. Yeah, where you are not subject to. Still, there are prarabdha, aparabdha karma here also. However, there is an option to go in a better direction. That's why in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavatam, 1st canto, Narad Muni said, right? Tasyaiva hetu prayote kovido na labhyate brahmatam uparya adha talyabhyate dukkhavat anyata sukham kalena sarvatra gavira ranghasa. By the arrangement of time, you get happiness, you get sorrow. But we don't desire for sorrow. We don't desire for suffering. No. Distress. No. I want to be always happy. I pray like, Lord, make my life miserable. No. Make my life very palatable, happy, successful. That is our desire. But we get happy, distress or not. Everyone, from the topmost planet to the lower planet goes through it. But the topmost planet is like, you have like better arrangement. The distress part is less. Lower planetary is opposite. Distress part is more. then the happiness part is led. Except Sutal Loka, because the definition of Sutal Loka is what I see, that has more opulence than even the heavenly planets. But in general, Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, Patal, they have, and they are not suitable for human beings also. Some are like Sarpaloka, lower living entities, they live there, demons, they live there, Asura. So that's why the suffering is more. The consciousness is down, mood of ignorance is dominant there. So Karma Bhumi is this one. Especially in this Kali Yuga, even the demigods want to take birth so that they can take the benefit of Kali Yuga, which is succeeded by Lord Chaitanya's appearance. Because they have a special concession to go to spiritual world by chanting the holy name of the Lord. They can get Braja Prem, Krishna Prem. Yeah, so that's very powerful. What I wanted to say here. I don't know. Okay. Any other question from the audience? I don't know. From the Zoom call or anyone? Sorry, I am not giving enough space for you to ask the question. I just kept reading. But if you have any question or any confusion, anything, even if I cannot answer, Srivash Pandit Prabhu will join at the end. So he can also help us, to answer the questions. Any question or concern or anything? Okay. Okay, now it is the next verses are explaining that the constitution of time, how the material time is calculated, how Lord Brahma's lifespan and everything, which is a huge number. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Ahar Yad Brahmano Vidu Ratrim Yoga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vido Jana. Anyone? Saurabh Prabhu? Sukalamala Radha?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night.
Okay, thank you. So this one day of Lord Brahma, one day. This is actually relative study. The theory of relativity, time. What is it? Contraction or time contraction? Right? Not time elongation. What is that? Forgot. Time dilation, right? Yeah, time dilation and elongation, right? Length. There are three things: time, space. It's like the length, right? I forgot that thing. Theory of relativity. It's like 25 years almost, Anyway, so, by human calculation. So, Lord Brahma's one day is 1,000 Chatur Yogas of human planets. Chatur Yogas. Now, I will give you the example of Chatur Yoga. So, one Chatur Yoga is constitution of 4 Yogas. Satya, Treta, Dapar and Kali Yuga. So, you multiply it by 1,000. That is equal to 1 day of Lord Brahma. Now, one Satya Yoga is almost 1,700,000, 28,000 years. 728,000 years. 1,700,000. 17 lakhs, right? 1,728,000 years. One Treta Yuga is 1,296,000 years. One Dapar Yuga is 864,000 years, and one Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. You add them, it comes like 4.32 million years. That is one day of Lord Brahma. Now multiply it by 365 and then multiply it by 100, because his duration of life is 100 years. That is the longevity of Lord Brahma. And it is divided into 2. First Prarabdha, Ditya Prarabdha, like he has a division. So now Lord Brahma is going through his second Prarabdha, Ditya Prarabdha. Is beginning of his Ditya Prarabdha. In one day of Lord Brahma, in this 1,000 Chaitya Yoga, Krishna comes only once. And when Krishna comes, only then Lord Chaitanya comes in the subsequent Kali Yuga. Okay, so this is very difficult calculation, and also like 1 year of us is 1 day of demigods. 1 day and night, 1 year of us, 6 months, 6 months. That's why Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, right? Those things come. They sleep half of a years and half of a year they're awake. Okay, so any question regarding this Lord Brahma's thing? Maybe I'll discuss a little bit later. Abhyaktad vyaktaya sarva prabhabdyantyah ragame ratriyagame praliyante tatra vyakta sangyake tatraiva abhyakta samgyake. Thank you. Yes, translation. Anyone left in the call? Second time reading?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again.
Thank you. So, in Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran, in 12th canto, there are 4 types of annihilation are spoken. One of the subject matter of Bhagavatam is Nirodha, right? Nirodha. How unmanifestation takes place, or how we can actually go back. This is also a Nirodha. Whatever we are actually discussing here is the process of extinguishing our material existence. So there are 4. First is called Atyantika. First is called Naimatika. That means every day Lord Brahma, when he sleeps, there is a partial cataclysm. And in that partial cataclysm, the fire which comes from Lord Anantashesha's mouth, but by the way, I don't know, many of the devotees may not be familiar with these concepts, but you can ask me a question if something is confusing to you, but this is how it is explained. It actually destroys all the planets till Maharloka. So Maharloka and above planets, they don't get destroyed. Mahar, Jana, Tapo, Satya, these 4 lokas, they don't get destroyed. That's why they are considered upper planetary system. The middle planetary system is Bhur, Bhuva and Swa. Means like Bhur Loka is Aval Loka, Bhuva is Gandharva, and Swara Loka is heavenly planets, which is governed by Indra. And of course the 7 lower planetary systems, they are already gone. So these 7 and 3, 10 are gone, 4 are remaining. However, the heat becomes so heavy that the inhabitants of Maharloka, they travel to Janaloka to get rid of the influence of the heat. It's so heated. And Lord Brahma, he goes to sleep. This is called Naimatika cataclysm or Nirodha. Then comes Prakritika Nirodha. Naimatika, Prakritika, Atyantika, Nitya. Okay. So Prakritika, I started with Naimatika. I should have started with Nitya. Nitya Nirodha is like, we are going through the changes in body, right? What are the changes in the body you experience? Randomly just say Mataji. There is a formula also, but I will say the formula later. Excellent. Yeah, you can speak in same thing in the mic.
We grow and the cells of our body change every 8 years.
Correct. Thank you. So we go through 6 changes. Janma, Briddhi. Janma means birth. Briddhi means growth. Then Sthiti. We remain steady in some stage, right? Then Utpanya, we produce byproduct. Then Khoi, dwindling. And then Mrityu, ultimately death. These are the 6 stages of transformation. It's spoken in Shastra. So this is called Nitya Nirodha. It's continuously changing. Nitya Nirodha. Then comes Naimatika, which is Lord Brahma's one day. Then comes Prakritika. Prakritika is when Lord Brahma's life is done, 100 years is done, there will be a universal cataclysm which will destroy all the planetary systems. And in that destruction, those who are liberated soul, who are living in higher planetary systems, they will go directly to the spiritual world. Even Lord Brahma, if he is qualified, he will go to the spiritual world. The 4 Kumaras, that other, 9 Navayogendras, those powerful yogis, they will go to the spiritual world. But others, they will go to the Karanarnavashai Vishnus, that unmanifest stage, dormant hibernation. They will coexist with him. So this is the Naimatika, Prakritika. And then last is called Atyantika. Atyantika is means you go to the spiritual world. Your material, complete annihilation of your material existence. And now, if we calculate, like how many years Lord Brahma's lifespan in context to our time calculation? Almost 3 trillion years. Almost 3 something, 3 point something. Okay, somebody can correct me if I am telling wrong.
It's 311 trillion.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. 311 trillion years. That is one time when the Prakritika annihilation takes place, right? So first is Nitya, which is very continuous. We can observe it. Then Naimatika, which is one day of Brahma, which is almost 4.32 billion years. Because 1000, you have to multiply by 4.32 million multiplied by 1000. 1000 Chatur Yugas, right? Then comes Naimatika, which is 311 trillion years. It is considered that Prakritika is so rare that even it takes much more time than Lord Brahma's lifetime. If you consider the degree, the Nitya is like very lower degree, right? It is constantly changing. Then comes the Naimatika, which is one day of Brahma, which is much higher, 4.32 billion. Then comes Prakritika, which is much higher, 311, almost 1000 times. Then comes, actually more than 1000 times, 100,000 times. Then you can understand, maybe thousands of Lord Brahma's lifetime, we could not actually achieve liberation. That's why the Anadi, the definition of the Krishna Bahirmukh, where Krishna Bhuliya Jeev Anadi Bahirmukh. That Anadi, definition of Anadi is this. That it is so big a time, there is no calculation. There is no calculation. Okay. So, that's why it's so rare. That's why Prakriti is the top. It's so difficult to achieve. So a jeep can go through many millions of Lord Brahma's lifetime, still yet it not be able to achieve the ultimate destination of, Krishna consciousness. Okay, I don't know whether I was able to explain it properly, but let's go to the next verse. Bhuta grama sayevayam bhutva praliyate Ratriagama vasa partha prabhavyatyaha ragame. Any Akashvani devotees?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated.
Thank you, Babuji. Yes. Helplessly. They don't have anything to do. It's an automatic process. Even if you're like a powerful like Hiranyakashipu, you cannot fight with Kal. Kal is death. Krishna's one energy, yeah. Parastasmattu bhavanyo vyaktya vyaktad sanatana yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinasyati. Everybody read from the Zoom call? Second time?
I can read from.
Yes, Mataji.
Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter, which is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is.
Which one is that part? Which is not annihilated?
Spiritual world, Prabhu.
Is spiritual world. Thank you. Tripad Vibhuti of Lord. So Lord's Ekpad Vibhuti is this material nature, and Tripad Vibhuti, 3/4 of his energy is spiritual world. So it never gets annihilated. Yes. Abhyakta shara ityoktas tam ahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Okay, maybe Prabhu, you can read. Give the mic to Prabhu. Please.
That which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode.
Thank you, Prabhu. Unmanifest and infallible means like there is no account of it getting manifested. It's always there, and it's not subject to the changes. Infallible means akshara. It is not subject to changes. There are two natures. We have also two natures. One is shara and akshara. Shara is the body, which is subject to change, but akshara, the soul, is unchangeable. How do you know that the soul is unchangeable? In your practical example, not theoretical, practical example. Have you ever thought about it? Sorry, yes, mic is. We need another mic. Message is there. Okay. Sorry.
The consciousness of I remains the same. No matter we are 20 years old or 50 years old, we're the same.
I can say you for my example, I don't feel like I'm old enough. Maybe 20 years back, if I would have experienced a person of my age, I would have said, like, oh, he is so senior, he's so old. But I'm at that stage right now. I don't see myself old. Do you think yourself old? No. Because why? Who are you? You are soul. Soul is ever youth, you are ever fresh. You are not this body. If you are this body, then you say, oh, my body is getting old. You are not saying I am getting old. Or maybe sometimes you say, but actually that feeling doesn't come because the soul, the experience is not like old. It's not old or young. It's always fresh. So that is the interesting point. You think about it also. When you see yourself in the mirror, you don't see like how many white hairs. You say, no, it looks good to me. Good with the white hairs. At least I feel like that way. That sometimes white hairs give you some kind of intelligent look. Anyway, so that is our problem, that we don't see. That's not problem actually. That's the real nature of us. Srila Prabhupada explains in the second canto also. I think we are recently reading that verse. I think 220 verse. There he says that when the ever youthful nature of the soul keeps us thinking that we are youth. That's why the feeling of existence come into being. If we feel like, oh, we are old, then you will feel like morose. That push will not be there. Sometimes it happens, but most of the cases, it's not natural. Okay, did we read this verse? Abhyakta akshara iti uktasta. Did you read it? Okay, yeah, we read it. Purusha sa parapārtha bhaktya labhyasta ananyaya yashantya sthani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam. Mataji, want to read, please?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all-pervading and everything is situated within him.
So, only by the process of unalloyed devotion, Krishna can be attained. Which is also mentioned by Lord Brahma, that famous verse, right? Gyane prayasa mudapasya namante yeva jivanti sanamukuritam bhavadiya vartam sthanishthitam shutigatam tanubang manovir yo prayasa jitajati apyasitra istralokyam. It's such a beautiful verse. Lord Brahma, he wanted to conquer Krishna by his own intelligence. He wanted to interpret Krishna's activity with his own intelligence. He saw some unnatural activities of the Lord. He was eating uchishta of his devotees. He thought, no, this is not the person whom I actually prayed. Maybe it's someone else. I want to test him. And then he abducted the the cowherd boys and the cows, right? And then he saw, when he came back from Bommaloka to his place, it's already 1 year done, and he saw that the same cows and cowherd boys are actually playing with Krishna. And then he saw everyone is actually 400 forms Krishna. That means he could understand that they are an extension of Krishna. And then he has started praying to Lord, and first he glorified Lord's beauty, and then he started with this prayer. Oh my Lord, you cannot be understood through Gyan and Prayas, by knowledge and by own endeavor. Gyane Prayasana Udapasya Namantayeva. But if somebody stay in his or her respective positions and dedicate his mind, words and body in service of you, especially listening, Bhavadiya Vartam, your activities, your pastimes, then you can be conquered, even though you are not conquered by anyone in these three worlds. That's Srila Prabhupada is telling, Lord Krishna is also telling that only by another devotion, Bhaktayam Ekayam Grahya, Swadhyayati Priyasatam, Bhakti Punati Mannishtam, Sapakanapi Sambhava. In Bhagavad Mahapuran, Lord Krishna speaks to Uddhava that even a sapak, a dog eater, can understand me by the process of devotional service with full faith and attachment. So that is a beautiful point. And also I think there is Bhakta Mam Abhijanati Yavan Yas Chashmi Tattataha. In 18th chapter also Krishna speaks about that. Yatro, text 23. Yatro kale tana vrittim avrittim chaiva yogina prayata yanti tam kalam Bhakshami Varatarshava. Satyam Babu.
Hare Krishna. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back.
Okay, so now Krishna is not talking about the devotees. He is talking about the other yogis, Dhyana yogis, Jnana yogis, the Karma yogis. How, when they actually live, in what time. That's why they, especially the Dhyana yogis, they have the control to leave their body. They practice the yoga process. In fact, they control the breath to some extent that they can extend their longevity. Thousands of years they can stay. There are Babas in Himalayas who come in Rishikesh once in a while. Many generations, they keep seeing that same person. They say like, oh, my Pardada also saw him. Because they breathe so less and they control their breathing to so extent. It may seem unusual, but that's very practical. If you can control your breath, you can elongate your longevity significantly. But that's not our goal, that we want to live longer. Okay. Now he is telling the Dhyana Yogis parts. Agnir Jyotir Aha Shukla Sanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gacchanti Brahma Vido Jana. Mansi Mataji.
Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north.
Yeah, we can see also even, what is his name? Bhishmadeva. He also waited for Uttarayana. This is actually part of humility. When devotees want to follow certain regulations given by Lord, certain instructions, is their humility. They don't have to. They're beyond. They are beyond the regulations. They already attain Krishna. What to attain there after attaining Krishna? But still to show the example like, oh, you should aspire for these things, or you should follow if you can. It's not like in the next few verses Krishna will explain it. It's not mandatory for the devotees, but sometimes out of humility they do that. So that is the Dhyana Yogi. Now, Jnana Yogi. Now we will see that what the Karma Yogis do. Dhumo Ratris Tatha Krishna Sanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandramasam Jyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate. Maybe somebody from the online audience?
Hare Krishna.
The mist. Okay. Maybe. That's fine.
Thank you, Mother. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet but again comes back.
It's like they go in a, thank you Mataji, they go in a higher planetary system where they have better facility to enter the material world, but they have to come back once the punya, the pious activities are done, like are enjoyed already. Ma. Okay, now Shukla Krishna Gati Hiyate Jagata Saswate Mate Ekaya Yatyana Vrittim Anyayavartate Puna. Online devotees, Sukumala Mataji.
She's dropped, Prabhu. I can read.
Yes.
Yeah, according to the Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back. But when one passes in darkness, he returns.
Thank you, Prabhu. Just means like those who actually attain perfection in Jnana Yoga process, they are considered as passing in light. They have the illumination of knowledge. But those who doesn't have it, who are like desirous of enjoyment, they have to come back. And yeah, in the Baladev Vidya Vinushan, he quotes actually Chandogya Upanishad, Gauriya Vedanta Acharya, Baladev Vidya Vinushan. He says, those who are fruitive laborers and philosophical speculators from the time immemorial are constantly going and coming. Actually, they do not attain ultimate salvation, for they do not surrender to Krishna. Okay, so I take it back. Actually, even the Jnana Yogis are also considered coming and going back, because Yanya Aravindaksha Vimuktamani is also the same. But there is another explanation of light, is like you are full consciousness of Krishna. You have that enlightenment of spiritual knowledge. Anyways, yeah, it's not exactly saying Jnana Yoga. Noite Sriti Partha Janan Yogi Muyyati Kaschana Tasmad Sarveshu Kaleshu Yogo Yukto Bhavarjuna. Online devotees?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Although the devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So you should feel like, oh, so many mechanical things I have to consider while living body. It can be bemusing, right? It can be also overwhelming. But Krishna is assuring, no, don't worry. Just be fixed in devotion. The rest will be taken care of by me. It's my personal vow to you. A personal commitment, I will say. And now he is telling the speciality of devotional service. Means Bhagavad Gita, the constitution is so beautiful. You read one chapter, it opens another direction, and then you go to the next chapter. You get the explanation of that particular verse or particular concept. There is a nice transition. If you see the Bhagavad Gita in the bird's eyes, it's so beautiful, it's so nice poetry, so mellifluous. But sometimes when you read out of context, or you don't know why we are coming here, then it may feel like, oh, it's very dry. No, it's actually super poetry. That's why the devotees keep on reciting it, right? They have some test. So this is a beautiful verse. Vedeshu yagyeshu tapashu chaiva danesu yat punya phalam pradishtvam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva Yogi paramsthanam upayati chadyam. Translation from any online
Hare
devotee?
Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare
Yeah, go ahead, Candy Mataji. You can do it.
Hare Krishna. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end he reaches the supreme eternal abode.
Thank you, Kennedy Mataji. Yes, so you are not missing out of anything. Krishna is assuring the supremacy of devotional service. All these are a byproduct, they are subservient to the devotional service. If you do devotional service, they are already covered. You don't have to do them explicitly. It is also explained in many places in Bhagavatam also, that those who are performing devotional service, they are eligible to do all their services, other services also, and these other services are already covered inside the devotional service. So that is the beauty of devotional service. But if you do this service, but devotional service is absent, they may not result in something good. Most of the times they won't. Because Krishna is not personally obligated to make it good for you. And when Krishna is not there, most of the times the material nature will cause calamities than happiness. And there are examples like, studying the Vedas. By studying the Vedas, people become bewildered. In Bhagavatam also we see that the four Kumaras are very knowledgeable, but they could not understand the service attitude of the devotees, the Dharpalas of Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. Yeah, anyways, that devotee, that pastime has a different perspective also. Performing sacrifices, like while performing sacrifices, Indra actually killed a Brahmana. And Dhritarashtra was born, right? Tashtva, the mispronunciation of the verses, which created a demon who will be killed by Indra. Anyway, so it was also incomplete. Undergoing austerities, Hiranyakashipu, super austerities, so much austerities that the 14 planetary systems were disturbed. And then giving charity or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities like Nigendra, King Niga, Maharaj was also mentioning yesterday, right? He gave so much charity, still he had to become a lizard. Big lizard, by the way. So simply by performing devotional service, he was secured. So that's our only hope. Neha vikrama nashasti pratyavana vidyate salpam apyasya dharmasya tarayate mahata bhayat. Even performing a very, very tiny bit of devotional service will help us to cross the most difficult calamities in this material world, because it's full of calamities. So this is the conclusion. Let's read this purport. It's such a beautiful purport. It's super purport actually. This is the summation of 7th and 8th chapter. And yeah, let's read this. So some Sukamala Radhika Mataji or some devotees who did not read Sara Prabhu, please read one paragraph each.
No, Prabhuji, I can read it. This verse is the summation of the 7th and 8th chapter, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master, just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya.
Thank you, Babu. So next devotee.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for some time, at least from age 5 to 20, he becomes a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for recreation of armchair speculators, but the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. When he is householder, he has to perform many sacrifices so that he may achieve further enlightenment. He must also give charity according to the country, time, and candidate discriminating among charity in godness, in passion, and in ignorance, as described in Bhagavad Gita. Then, after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, living in the forest, dressing with the tree bark, not shaving, etc. By carrying out the order of Brahmacharya, household life, Vanaprastha, and finally Sannyasa, one becomes elevated to the perfectional stage of life. Some are the elevated to the heavenly kingdoms, and when then become even more advanced, they are liberated in spiritual sky, either in the impersonal Brahmajyoti or Vaikunt planets or Krishna Loka. This is the path outlined by Vedic literature.
Okay, the next devotee can read 2 paragraphs. No one?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, go ahead.
The beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. The words idam vititva indicate that one should understand the instructions given by Sri Krishna in this chapter and the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One should try to understand these chapters not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in association with devotees. Chapters 7 through 12 are the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. In the first 6 and the last 6 chapters are, the first 6 and the last 6 chapters are like coverings for the middle 6 chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita, especially these middle 6 chapters, in the association of devotees, then his life is at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculations, etc. For one can achieve all the results of these activities simply by Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. Maybe or maybe Poe can read. Can read Poe. The last paragraph.
Thank you. One who has a little faith in Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the 4th chapter, it is stated clearly that Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee of Krishna, not from mental speculators. This is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee and fortunately gets a devotee's association, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad Gita. By advancement in the association of the devotee, one is placed in devotional service, and this service dispels all one's misgivings about Krishna or God and Krishna's activities, form, pastimes, name, and other features. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita and attains the state of feeling always Krishna conscious. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. This highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Golok, Vrindavan, where the devotee becomes eternally happy.
Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purpose to the 8th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in the matter of attaining the Supreme. Hari Om Tat Sat. So the last part, the last paragraph actually talks Srila Prabhupada is talking about the process, the gradual progress, Adu Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Tata Bhajana Kriya, Satyata Nartha Nibriti Itadi, and then Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. So the how you begin. You begin with little faith, then you associate with devotees, they will start process of devotional service, and then all the misgivings from the heart will go away, Anartha Nibriti, and you will be situated in a steady state, and then you get attachment to your relationship with Krishna. That's how. Anyways, any last question or comment before we say it a goodbye today? we have His Grace Vaisheshika Maharaja's class after this Sunday class. So
As usual, wonderful class, Prabhu. Thank you so very much. Really, really, thank you.
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
thank you. I hope I think many devotees did not take part, but I
Hare
appreciate
Krishna
your.
Prabhuji, thank you so much. It was really great. Just one question, and it may not be related with today's class, rather previous chapter, but I just wanted to ask, and then it is looks like the information is not available. So, question is that we have different demigods, and demigods have specific importance. Somewhere I have seen some gunas, number of gunas, like Shiva has some guna, and in the 8th chapter there was one verse. It was mentioned that tamas guna is related to that, or how many gunas basically. So little more information related to demigods and Krishna, if you can elaborate that, or if you're having some information, you can pass that information.
Yeah, so the one thing is you can understand the relationship with the demigods and Krishna by studying second canto and third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There the Dikpalas are also mentioned. Different controlling different material natures controlling or predominating demigods are mentioned there. And you can also read Chaitanya Charitamrita Sanatan Siksha, Madhya Leela 20th chapter, 19th chapter, 20th chapter, 21st chapter. These 3 chapters if you read, there is descriptions of Lord's different types of incarnations, and also there is a beautiful verse which is expanded to give the supremacy of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu with respect to other demigods. That Sayatya Samyam Shayasta Dhrisha, Lord is called as Trayadhish, the Lord of the Three. So if you read that chapter, Prabhu, I think it will help you to understand the qualities of demigods and the supremacy of Lord Vishnu or Krishna with respect to the demigods. But I think in whole of Bhagavatam, it's all about the glories of the Supreme Lord, and all the demigods, they are praying to Him. So that also helps if you continuously study Srimad Bhagavad Mahapurana. Yeah, it's a big topic, Prabhu, and we may need to actually some other scope, other platform to discuss about those things. But in general, everywhere you will see that the demigods, the powerful demigods, they're praying to the Lord, they're glorifying the Lord. Especially in Bhagavad Mahapurana, there is Rudraguta, there is instruction of Lord Shiva to Prachetas. There is also glorification of Lord Shiva in the 8th canto, where the Ivasura, the war between the demons and demigods are described. But everywhere, the supremacy was of Lord Vishnu is established. Yeah. Okay.
In Bhagavatam, you said that 8th canto and 2nd canto?
No, so if you want to read Rudra Gita, this comes in 4th canto. And the instructions to the Prachetas also 4th or 5th canto, I cannot exactly remember. But Bhagavatam, there are the qualities of Lord Shiva and why Lord Vishnu is actually supreme. It is actually coming again and again. And so there is a famous verse, is called Yatha Torur Mulu Nishechana Tirpante Tadaskanda Bhujopusaka Prana Upaharasya Yathendriyani Tathaiva Sarbaharanam Achyuteja. If you put water to the root of the tree, it nourishes the whole tree. Similarly, if you actually worship the Lord Achyuta, Lord Vishnu, it actually satisfied all the other gods and demigods. So you don't have to explicitly worship the gods and demigods to get their benediction. They will be automatically satisfied when somebody worships Lord Krishna. Okay, so those are mentioned in Bhagavatam again and again, not only one places. But I can actually post some of the direct reference in our chat, WhatsApp chat, so that you can actually take a look there. Okay, Prabhuji?
Prabhuji, that would be really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Anyway, so we'll conclude our session here today. So I ask for your forgiveness if I have spoken something out of context and without reference from our previous acharyas. Please forgive me. Bancha kalpatarabhyasya kripa sindhu
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Ananta Gauda Vaishnava Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada.